I just want to underscore a couple of points. We've had versions of this debate and discussion, and it's an important one. And I appreciate all my colleagues engaging in it from a place of concern and care for our community. And I really believe that. I think that this program, and much like programs across the country, was created with the best of intentions. But when you look at the data, and I think we just talked about introducing a data-driven bill, the data we have about the outcomes as a result of police in schools and arrests by SROs individually, whether they be paper or handcuffed and taken to the station, are dramatically disproportionate. And that's the data we have. The data on the other side, we don't have to suggest, and of course there are anecdotes and interactions that are positive between a trusted adult who's a police officer who cares about a student and a student. But what we know is that disproportionate harm is happening. We also know, as Councilmember Reamer mentioned, that this school to prison pipeline, the criminalization of Black and brown youth in particular, is a significant problem here in the county. Black students are arrested at almost 4 times the rate of white students. And as was mentioned, once they're arrested, the outcomes become even worse. Black students are more than 10 times more likely to be held by the Department of Juvenile Services before their trial as compared to their white peers. Just 10 times. They are 9 times more likely as their white peers to have their arrest end in incarceration. So it gets worse as you head down the system. And we have to plug every hole in that system. And schools are one of those many holes because many of our students leave. 55% of our juveniles that are arrested outside of school are Black. So it's a problem outside of school as well. But when you dig into the offenses, marijuana possession, fighting, disruption, they're things that I know I didn't get, thankfully, arrested for in school that I did. And when there are serious matters, police will always respond in accordance to the law. But we have to remove the proximity that is creating the disproportionate harm. And so I think that's what this bill is about. We talked earlier in the day about making investments in research-based and also data-driven investments in therapeutic services and restorative justice training and the like that are shown to reduce the need for school discipline and to be a better approach for supporting all students, not just these students that are disproportionately impacted. And so I think in a time where we have limited resources and where we know disproportionate harm is happening and where we created this program through a federal grant approval and expanded it, we as previous councils, it's our responsibility to step up and do this. And the school board will come with their thoughts and recommendations. But we fund this program. They're our police department. It's our role. And I think that's an important piece of this. And this is not to say that these officers, again, are bad people or don't care about kids. I know many of them, they do. This is about what is the right trusted adult with the right experience that can interact with our students in a positive way and minimize and eliminate the disproportionate harm that we know is already happening. And one of the things that isn't covered in this, and I pushed Dr. Smith on this in our school system, we need to hear the Student Government Association came out in support of this legislation. The Montgomery County Teachers Association came out in support. There's a Public Defenders Association that has support, and there's a lot of support. And it's about how do we re-envision what these officers do. They would not be fired, they would be reassigned, and you could still have a police call to the school in accordance with state law. So I know we'll have this discussion over the coming months and really appreciate Councilmember Reamer's partnership and hope that others will co-sponsor and consider the legislation. Thank you, Mr. President.